Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Mind Aura Lab with your host, Dorian G. I'm in the lab today with Ryan Michler. How are we doing today, Ryan?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. It's an honor and privilege to have your time and get to know you more because I've been listening to you since 2023, as previously stated before I hit record. And I'm just excited to have this conversation today.
Yeah, I am too. I've been looking forward to it, man. Glad we can make it work.
Absolutely, man. So just so everyone knows who you are, a little bit about your background, where are you from? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in California, moved to a small town in southern Utah. Um, Pretty normal childhood. I mean, what do you want to know? Pretty normal childhood. I'm not all that unique or special. Got the same story everybody else does.
Yeah, for sure. And I know you were in the military. So what got you into the military?
Yeah, I joined the military when I was 17, so I was still a senior in high school. And, I didn't really know what I wanted to do outside of high school. Always been patriotic, always been a believer in, the American dream, and seeing other people that have joined the military, had a lot of respect towards those individuals and felt like
Right.
this would be a big help in giving me some direction and clarity towards my life, and a continuation of high school with the brotherhood of men, with the systems and the discipline that come with sports. And so, yeah, I joined the National Guard when I was 17 years old, right out of high school, went to basic training, did a combat tour in 2005. So 20 years ago, which is wild to
Wow.
think. I actually
Yeah.
just ran into one of my guys that I went to Iraq with just a couple of days ago when I was coming back from a trip. And it was cool just to catch up for 5 minutes, but yeah, it was quite a trip. Um, National Guard's a little interesting because for the most part, you're able to live your civilian life and do some part-time service, except for some different tours that we had, different responsibilities and duty assignments, and I had 3 of those, so it kept me pretty busy.
Man, and coming from, California to Utah, going to Iraq, how was that culture shock?
Well, California to Utah was a big. I mean, the high school that I would have went to in California had more kids in the high school than the entire population of the town that I moved to.
That's wild.
So, yeah, that was a huge culture shock. I wouldn't change it for the world. Nobody needs to live in a big city like that, quite honest. Where do you live?
So I'm in Vegas.
Yeah, so nobody needs to live in Vegas. Yeah, I mean, truly, nobody lives. I'm only 2 hours north of you. I'm in southern Utah.
Okay.
Um, Yeah, even the place that I'm at, a lot of people know of St. George, Utah. I
Hmm.
think there's probably 200, 175, 200,000 people in the vicinity. And even I'm on the outskirts of it, 25
Hmm.
minutes away, because I don't want to live in a city. Um, I'd much rather live in a small town. So that's what I did. We moved to this small town in southern Utah by the grace of God. I didn't have any say in that, but it worked out
Hmm.
well. And yeah, going in the military was easy.
Right.
I played sports, and I played football, I played baseball, I wrestled for a couple of years. It was not hard to go into the military. Everybody tends to think it's hard, and I saw a lot of young men have a really difficult time with something that should not have been difficult. So I had a pretty good experience with 2 of my high school buddies when we went to Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and it was overall generally a pretty good experience for me.
So did you have brothers growing up?
No, I've got one sister. She's a little younger than me, 3 years younger than me. So yeah, just her and I.
Interesting. So you're the oldest then.
Yeah, I'm the oldest.
So you have that unspoken pressure of having to perform to be the since you're the oldest brother, right?
I never felt any pressure to perform. I've always just had a desire to perform. I mean, I
Okay.
was raised by a single mother primarily. I had some stepdads come into my life, but
Hmm.
they weren't real great examples. I will say they taught me some lessons, but I've never felt any sort of undue pressure to perform. I've just always wanted to win. So I don't know if that's something a lot of people experience, but there wasn't like a whole lot of brotherly competition that I had to compete with necessarily. So maybe that's part of it. but
Interesting.
I just wanted to win. I wanted to be the best. I still do. I want to be the best at everything I do.
Yeah, man, and it you can definitely tell by the way that you carry yourself when you're talking to people and interviewing them on your podcast. That's what I admired most about you is like
I
you
appreciate
admit,
that.
yeah, man, I want to highlight that because you admit like where you want to improve and where your strengths are, and I feel like a lot of people today don't have that self-awareness, and I feel like you probably got that amplified when you went into the military.
Yeah, I mean, I had some great role models in the military. I think it shaped me and refined me and helped me have a little bit more discipline. I'm
Hmm.
not sure how much more it gave me outside of what I already had, but
Hmm.
it might have given me some directionality to my own personality and my own dreams and desires. I ended up leaving the military after 8 years of service, and uh, I have some fond memories and some friendships. But at the end of the day, it was hard in a lot of ways in the military for me to be told what to do all the time and be dictated
Hmm.
on what I should or shouldn't do, or not to be acknowledged for what I thought I was strong at.
Hmm.
And that might have been my youthful arrogance speaking, but I consider myself very unemployable.
Hmm.
Uh, and it sounds a little, it sounds arrogant, but I know what's best for me.
Hmm.
I know what my skills are. I know what my
Hmm.
strengths and weaknesses are. And I don't need to be told by some other person that I have no familiarity with on what I should or shouldn't do or what I can or can't do. I'd rather, frankly, reinvent the wheel than follow some schmuck who has no idea about how they want to live their own life, let alone tell me how I want to live mine.
Yeah, man. And I think you went and chose the path of entrepreneurship from this, right? You're saying
Yeah.
unemployable?
Yeah. So when I got back, I actually took my financial licensing materials, so my insurance and
Okay.
investment exam paperwork to Iraq with me. I came
Okay.
back on a leave maybe about 3/4 of my tour in. I came back on a leave and spent some
Hmm.
time with my family at the time, and ended up talking with a guy. I was doing retail management at the time, and I realized I didn't want to go back into that. So I talked with a guy that was looking for two additional financial advisors to work with, and I ended up
Hmm.
bringing all of the study materials back with me. And when I came back, I passed those exams, and I did some odds and ends. I did some electrical, I did some heating and air stuff, but I started to navigate into the world of finance, and I did that for about 9 years, about 4 years before I actually ended up starting my own registered investment advisory, because that's the point where I knew, like, I'm not going to work for anybody else the rest of my
Hmm.
life. Like, I'm just not going to do that. I'm going to go out, I'm going to carve my own path. I'm going to succeed or not on my own merits. I'm going to bring people in. I'm going to start something important, and I'm done with other people telling me what I should do on a daily basis. Not interested.
So in those 9 years, like what lessons were you learning along the way that started like carving out the path of should I get into, media with the podcasting or should I start like a separate business that's outside of finance?
Yeah, well, I mean, marketing was the big thing for me. I
Okay.
naturally gravitated towards marketing. I've always, and I've been in sales forever. Um,
Hmm.
when I graduated high school, I did some landscaping, pizza delivery with buddies from high school. Like fun jobs where we were just dinking
Hmm.
around and having a good time. But
Right.
then I started working at Journey's shoe store in the mall. And that was
Okay.
probably maybe 2001 ish, somewhere in there.
Hmm.
In fact, I know it was actually probably 2000. It was probably 2000 because I remember September 11th, 2001. I was already managing the store at that time. So it was probably in 2000 that I started working at Journeys.
Okay.
And I love sales. Like, I don't know what it is. I love the idea of somebody coming into your store or stumbling across you in the context that I work now and
Hmm.
not knowing anything about you, and that journey from I don't know anything about this person to they have a product I like to that looks like it might solve my needs to I'm going to purchase that to now we have a relationship. it's just a really fascinating process to me. And I was naturally gravitated towards that when it came to my financial planning practice. In fact, what I did is I got tired of sitting down with clients for the very
Mhm.
prospects, I should say, for the very first time, and them saying no. I was just done with it. I'm like,
Mhm.
guys, spend an hour with this person. They're like, no. And it
Right.
was 80% of the people saying no. And I thought to myself, there's got to be a better way to do this. And at the time, I was following a gentleman by the name of Jeff Rose, and he owns a company called Good Financial Sense. And I reached out to him. He was doing some cool stuff with new digital, like blogging, maybe some YouTube stuff at the time. Nothing with a podcast. I reached out to him and I'm like, hey, I'm a financial advisor. You don't know me, but I'm really fascinated with some of the marketing stuff you're doing.
Mhm.
Do you, can I come work with you? Do you coach? And he's like, no, I don't coach, but I'm looking at getting into it. Would you want to be my first client? I'm like, yeah, I'm in. And I think I sent him $100 or $200. It was something like that. And we
Mhm.
had a really good call. I think we might have had a couple of calls. It's been so long now. And he walked through some of the things that he was doing, and I was blown away. I was like, this is it. This is amazing. And I really started to dive into the realm of new digital marketing. And so what I did, because I was having this frustration with meeting with prospects that just said no and wasted an hour of my time, I thought, well, you know what? Why don't I just give them a CD of my first quote unquote presentation, and I'll
Mhm.
just pass it around town. And then if they come to meet with me, I know they've already listened to it, and they might not be an automatic yes, but they would not come in to meet with me if they didn't have some sort of interest after listening to that first thing on the CD.
Right.
So my closing ratio went from 20% to 70 plus percent
Damn.
overnight. And I started this podcast. I mean, essentially, just to back up a little bit, what I did is I took my first presentation and I scripted it out on Word, and
Mhm.
I bought a $80 microphone and I just recorded it. And I burned it on a CD. I went to Staples. I got a bunch of CDs. I went to
Mhm.
some local company that could take pictures for me. And so they took pictures of me in my suit. It was so weird. And then I put it on this, like this. Do you remember like when we had CDs?
Yeah.
We had these, like, you could print, you could put, it was like a printable paper and you could like
Yep.
print whatever you want. And then you stuck it to the CD. You know what I'm talking
Yep.
about?
Yep. And I remember.
Yeah. So that's what I did. And I had this picture of me in my suit and I had the company name and I just slapped it on the CD. And I
Mhm.
was just handing these things out like they were candy. And like I said, the closing ratio of people who actually came in to see me went up to 70 plus percent. And I'm like, okay, we're on to something. So I
Mhm.
thought, I had been listening to some other podcasts. This was around 2014-ish. I've
Okay.
been listening to some other podcasts, and there were some financial podcasts, but they were so lame and boring. I'm like, you know what?
Right.
I think I can do this better. So I
Mm.
started a podcast and I called it Wealth Anatomy. And at the time, I thought to myself, no self. I worked with a lot of medical professionals, and I thought to myself, no self-respecting doctor is going to
Mhm.
listen to me talk about finances and then call my firm and want to do business with me.
Right.
And I remember the first client that I ever picked up. He was a pediatric physician in Pennsylvania. I only remember that because of the three P's: pediatric physician, Pennsylvania. That's the only reason I remember.
Mhm.
And he called me up and he's like, hey, is this Ryan? I said, yeah, this is Ryan. He's like, well, I need some disability insurance. Now, I don't know about you, but most people don't know a thing about disability insurance.
Yeah, I don't.
But yeah, but this doctor rattled everything off like he was just well versed, almost like he was an investment guy, a financial guy. And I was kind of caught off guard because nobody does. And I said, well, you know a lot about disability insurance. And I thought at the time, either this guy's shopping around or he's in the industry trying to figure out what I'm doing. So I told him, you know a lot about disability insurance. How do you know so much? And he's
Mhm.
like, oh, I just wrote down everything you told me I needed to get when you said it on the podcast. And then I figured I'd call you and just buy it through you.
Wow.
And that was a light bulb moment for me. I realized, holy, this is crazy. So I can say things on a podcast, and then very educated, very financially successful people will listen to it and then just take your advice without knowing anything else about you. And so I did about 20 episodes, picked up a bunch of clients from that. People were
Mm-hmm.
calling me in the financial business like, hey, how do you do this? What are you doing? And I was just so burned out on, I'd been in the business for 9 years at that point. I'm like, I'll still stay in the business, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
ready to change things up. And so I said to myself, I'm gonna do this podcasting thing, but I'm gonna switch it. I'm gonna pivot
Mm-hmm.
towards manliness, male leadership, how to lead in the family, how to lead in the community. And from day one, it just took off. And that was March 15th. So we're just a couple days out. So March 15th of 2015. And man, 10 years ago, we just off to the races. Wild.
Man, there's so much to unpack there. I think with, the humble beginnings of you giving out $100, $200 to acquire some skills from a mentor, essentially, where you're like, okay, now I can condense an hour worth of my time each time I meet up with a client into one CD and then just mass produce that and send that out to multiple prospects instead of meeting up and saying, here's who I am, here's what I have to offer. Is it a yes or a no? And them just saying no. Now you actually have your foot in the door with each CD. And you also learn the marketing side of things too, of like actually building your reputation with putting the image and then and like the voice, and then meeting you face to face. You're like, okay, I've seen who you are, I heard who you are, I know what you're talking about. Now let's see, where we can close the deal and negotiate. Also, the
Yeah.
fact that you're able to give out advice barely starting out with your podcast and people are like tuning in to listen to what you have to say and actually engaging with it is insane, because like most people start podcasts, right, just for shits and giggles, or they're like really serious about it. They get like 10 episodes in and they're like, I don't know if I should keep going. But the fact that you kept going and you got that positive feedback loop was probably what made you just like, all right, for sure, this is exactly what my purpose is right now, and I just have to pivot somewhere.
I mean, yeah, partially the positive feedback loop, but I will say when I started Order of Man in 2015, I was talking with a friend who helped other people grow their businesses, a little bit of podcasting here and there, but not much. I was pretty new in the space of podcasting, which is how we were able to establish our foothold. But it was interesting because when I was talking with this friend, I said, I'm going to do this for 2 years before I make a decision as to whether or not I should or should not continue to do it.
Okay.
So I had planted my flag with Order of Man long before I had any reason to. I said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this for 2 years. So essentially that's over 100 podcasts, 104 podcasts, because I was doing a weekly show at the time. It's different now. I do 3 shows per week, but at the time it was 1 show per week. And I thought, I'm just going to do this once a week for the next 2 years. And then and only then will I decide, is this something I want to continue or not? And I think that was a pretty good play. I wasn't smart about it. I don't even know why I did that. I thought it's just going to take some time. And it did in a lot of ways take time, but in a lot of ways it also picked up a whole lot faster than I thought it would.
Interesting. What was the reason behind the pivot? Why did you want to go from Wealth Anatomy to Order of Man?
I mean, I had talked about the financial planning stuff for so long, and I had a couple of business partners, one in particular, his name was Greg Black, and I remember a lot of conversations that we had, and I knew even then that I would not be in this game forever. There was a lot of value and purpose and meaning in what we were doing. We were helping people with their investments and retirement accounts and different insurances, and I knew there was meaning in it, and I was making decent money at the time, but I just didn't feel like it didn't like speak to me, you know? It was like, this will make the bills. I can make good money. I can grow this business. I can feel like I'm doing something important. And all of that was true, but it never even still spoke to me. And I had a lot of conversations with Greg, and he knew that I'd be out of the business before too long. And I thought, well, the Order of Man stuff is a good side business. I never really considered it a business when I was starting.
Hmm.
I just thought it would be a fun side project that would capture some of my imagination and creativity. There's so many regulations and rules inside of the financial world that it was becoming, I was getting a little hamstringed on some things I wanted to do by compliance departments where they're like, you can't do this, you can't do that. I'm like, what can I do? They're like, follow these rules. Again, that's my rebellious nature. I'm like, dude, I will
Yeah.
break those rules just for
Yeah.
fun. And obviously you can't do that in the financial world.
No.
And I had one of my buddies call me up. He's like, "Oh man, I just got audited." He was in the financial business too. I'm like, "What? You did? What was that like?" And he told me, and it wasn't horrible. He had all the stuff in line.
Right.
And I thought about it over the weekend. I already started Order a Man, and about 7 months into it, I had started making some money, but he had told me he got audited, and I'm like, I don't want to go through that. I mean,
Right.
I had all my documentation. We followed the rules. I was trained well.
Hmm.
So I had everything lined out, but I'm like, I don't want some FINRA guy or SEC guy coming in and telling me like, you don't have this person's middle name figured out, so you owe us $10,000. It's like that kind of
Oof.
stuff. Like, I'm not doing that game. So he told me that over the weekend. I really thought about it. I'd been making a little bit of money from the business, and I called him up and I'm like, hey man, do you want to buy my practice? And he's like, yeah, I do want to buy your practice. And I'm in a bit of a different situation because I had that asset I could sell and a lot of people don't.
Mm-hmm.
So I sold my business to him, and that created enough residual income over a period of 5-6 years where I could really double down and put some heavy emphasis into Order of Man. And that's what it took. It took me going all in for it to actually be a thing. I see a lot of podcasts and movements, quote unquote movements, start now, and they're dabbling. They're just like putting their toe in the water,
Mm-hmm.
which is fine. Like if you're doing it for a hobby or an activity or an interest, or you just like talking about a certain subject, cool, no problem. That's awesome. But if you actually want to make something of it, it's going to require a sacrifice. And in that case, it was me selling my very successful financial planning practice at the time.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. I think you're already speaking about it, right? You're taking that risk and going all in. I feel like a lot of people that want to be successful don't understand where do they need to sacrifice. Like if it's sleep, it's the business, it's like education. There's somewhere along the line you're gonna have to take a not a loss, but you're gonna have to take time out of whichever part of the day you're devoting attention to and then start to refocus on the purpose, the primary objective. And I completely agree with you that people are like dabbling and trying to create movements, but if you're not all in, people know right off the bat. They can tell like you're not serious about the project. There's no passion behind it.
Right. Yeah. And in my case, when I started Order of Man, I had a full-time job. I was doing the financial planning, and I would get up really early in the morning. I would do an hour or as much as I could on the Order of Man stuff. And then I would do the family thing in the morning, get the kids off, go into work, do my financial planning practice. I'd do a little bit of work over lunch in the Order of Man stuff. I'd come home, do dinner, spend some time with the family. And when the kids went to bed, it was me going back to Order of Man. And I did that
Mhm.
for 18 months solid, maybe a little less, before I ended up selling my financial planning practice and making this my full-time gig.
Mhm.
But it's a
And
cost.
yeah.
Like if you want to have something, it's a cost. If you want to, I don't know, run a marathon, you're going to have to train, and that's going to cut into your family time and your work time. If you want to start a business, you're going to have to work late hours. If you want to start a family, you're going to have to cut out on some hours and some financial income, or even give up on some of your dreams at least momentarily to start a young family. Like everything has a cost. Everything has a cost that you do, and everything that you don't do has a cost associated with it. And our job is to determine whether or not doing or not doing a thing is worth the cost that we'll have to pay for it.
So true, man. I can't agree with you more on like just sacrificing like social time was a big one for me when I was training for the
Yeah,
half marathon. You know,
right.
I got deployed out to work in Miami for 2 months, and during that time, I was still training. Like my coach was like, here's a schedule every week, like report back to me on what your times are, what your heart rate's at. And then my friends would be like, hey, we're going to come with you and run. I'm like, are you sure? Because I'm training. Like, it's not just for fun. Like, this is something that I'm doing. Like, I
Right.
have to train. I have to put in the mileage. If you're down, then come with. But if not, like, you're just going to be holding me back. So they
Right. This
came
is
a
not
couple
for you.
times. They came a couple times and they fucking got gassed out. And I was like, I told you guys. But then, a couple weeks go on and they're like, hey, do you want to go out to this party? No, man, I gotta
Nope.
run 14 miles tomorrow. Like, I
Right.
cannot do the things that you guys expect me of when I come to Miami. I'm like, I'm work mode and I'm training mode. So these are the things that matter to me. And they started to get it. They're like, okay, the social time's not a priority for them this round.
And that's awesome, and some people might be upset about that and some people might understand, but it doesn't matter whether they understand or not. You're making those decisions and intentionally you knew I'm going to cut out on social time with friends. I'm going to cut out on opportunities to meet young ladies. Like there's a lot that goes on with that. And you know what? You knew what the cost was and you did it.
Mm-hmm.
And I commend you for that because most people won't do that. They'll go out and hang out with their friends or they'll go out and look for ladies. And if that's your priority, fine. But don't tell me that something else is when that's what you're engaged in.
Absolutely. And you hammer that in your podcast a lot as well with being accountable, just holding yourself to a higher degree of standards. Like if you're going to set out to do something, then make sure that you're showing up every day and putting in that effort.
Well, and also being around other people who are in this similar mindset as you. Because
Right.
if you surround yourself with guys who want to go to the bar on the weekend, you're more likely to go to the bar on the weekend. But if you start getting, to use your analogy, into the running community, and everybody's
Mm-hmm.
like, those guys aren't going to the serious ones. They're not going to the bar on the weekend. They're
Mm-mm.
getting up at 5 a.m. and they're going to go put in 10, 15, 20 miles or some other physical activity. If you start surrounding yourself more with those people, it's almost like magic. It's osmosis
Mm-hmm.
that you're just going to start picking up on these trends and these desires, and you're going to start behaving like them. And it's not rocket science. Everybody's like, oh, how do I be a better fill in the blank?
Mm-hmm.
Just go spend time with people who are doing that. If you want to be a power lifter, go spend time with power lifters. And they're like, I don't know any power lifters. Well, gee, let me think. Where do the power lifters hang out? They're not, and I'll tell you, everybody say the gym. No, not the gym, because they're not at Planet Fitness.
Right.
Those are the vein. Like those are the
Mm-hmm.
guys who like more of the bodybuilding crew, which is
Right.
fine. Like if that's what you want to do. The power lifters are at the underground gyms throwing around a lot of weight. That's what and eating. Those are the two things those people are doing.
Yep.
So if that's what you want to be, do that. If you want to be a runner, sign up for a 3K, sign up for a 5K, sign up for a 10K, sign up for a half marathon, and then find a local community or call a couple of people who you know who run. Tomorrow morning, I'm actually going on a run with a buddy. We're going to try to get, he does a half marathon every day, literally every day.
Holy shit.
He's crazy. I'm like, I'm not doing that, bro. And he's like, well,
Yeah.
why not? I'm like, I don't even think I could do that right now.
No.
But I'll go run with you. I'll put 6-7 miles in with you. And he's like, okay, but we're going to push hard. I'm like, okay, fine. Well, that's what you need to do in order to be that kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to be a great husband, stop hanging out with single guys who go to the bar every week. Like that's not where great husbands hang out.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to increase your faith and your spirituality and get closer to God, I don't know, maybe you should go to church. Seems like the people who want what you want would probably go to church, so that would be a good start. If you want to be a great business owner, go to a Chamber of Commerce meeting in your local town. They have them every single week. Go to a Toastmasters, go to a Rotary. Those are all successful entrepreneurs who are trying to improve themselves. These guys were like, I don't know where these people are. You're just being lazy.
Mm,
Like,
mm-hmm.
if you really want a thing, then find out where the people are and go invest your time. A lot of these things are free. Just go invest an hour and you'll be amazed at how quickly you become integrated and part of that community, and your results will follow.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, so what I'm trying to do right now with my younger brothers is like taking them to the gym and making sure that they're around that social environment. Like, not only are you coming here for an hour to put in the work, but you're seeing other people around you also putting in the work. And I was having this conversation with my brother the other night because he's like, well, this guy was looking at me weird. I'm like, dude, you understand that everyone that walks into a gym has some sort of insecurity, that they're all trying to focus on something that they don't like or they're trying to improve. I'm like, that person probably wasn't even thinking about you at all. You just interpreted the wrong way. But if you're not in that environment all the time and you're not in the mindset of, I'm improving myself and everyone else is improving, instead of like looking at it as someone's judging you, then you're always going to walk into the world thinking that someone's judging you. Versus, I am showing up because I said I'm going to do something. I made a commitment, and all these other people are making the same commitment.
Yeah, I mean, the thing where you think people are judging you is usually just a projection. To your point, it's a sense of self insecurity where it's like, I'm a little fat or I'm a little out of shape, and so all these people are judging me. Nobody's looking at you. I mean, I remember when I went in, I mean, they might be looking at you, but they're not judging you. I
Right.
remember when I started doing CrossFit probably like 10 years ago. I don't do that now. I mostly do strength training now. But
Mm-hmm.
when I was doing CrossFit, dude, I was 35 pounds overweight. So I have pictures of me going in and I just looked like this fat donut of a person.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so embarrassed. I really was. I was embarrassed to go to the gym. I
Right.
thought everybody was looking at me. And the reality is all the other people who looked like me were like, cool, we're doing this together. And all the
Mm-hmm.
people who looked better than me were like, cool, you're in here. Like, let me show you how to get better.
Mm-hmm.
I was at the gym with a buddy this morning, and him and I have been working out for about 3 months. And he's a friend. I've known him for a long time, pretty loosely acquainted. But I called him up and I'm like, hey, man, you should come to the gym with me. And he's like, why? I'm like, I don't know. I need a training partner. I think it'd be
Mm-hmm.
good for you. Like, just come work out with me. And for whatever reason, I must have just caught him at the right time because he hadn't been to the gym self admittedly for almost 10 years.
Wow.
And he's like, okay, I'll come in. So I'm like, cool. So he comes in, and for the past 3 months, we've been working hard. Both of us have slacked. Both of us have been committed at different times, and we hold
Mm-hmm.
each other accountable. The other day, I got to the gym and he wasn't there. I'm like, bro, I miss you at the gym today. And he's like, I don't want to talk about it. And I was like, well, now you have to. And he's like, I slept in. I was feeling bad. I'm like, cool. Well, be better tomorrow, whatever.
Right.
And so he came back in, and the guy's lost 20, I think 8 pounds at this point. And we were at the gym
Nice.
working out. We were doing some dumbbell bench press this morning. And a guy came
Mm-hmm.
up and he's like, hey, are you guys brothers? Because we look a lot alike, similar
Mm-hmm.
builds. We both have beards and red, like a little bit of red in our hair and stuff,
Yeah,
and
for
gray
sure.
now at this point. And he comes up, he's like, hey, are you guys brothers? I'm like, no, we're just friends. He's like, man, that guy, my buddy was doing bench press, and he's like, that guy looks good. I'm like, he does look good. He's come a long way. He's like, I remember coming in 3 months ago and I saw you guys working out at the rack. And then I'd been gone. He's been traveling. He came back and he's like, I saw him today. I'm like, holy cow, that guy looks really good. But that's what a community like that will do. 3 months, 28 pounds. The guy's getting strong. He's getting fit. He's eating better. We don't even talk about nutrition, but he just
Mm-hmm.
decided to do it and get better at it. It's amazing how much will transfer over when you just get in proximity to the thing that you want.
It's It's something that is very simple, yet it's overlooked because we're constantly bombarded with this like stimulation of looking at social media and seeing everyone's lives, like, and comparing our lives to theirs, like, oh, their lives are so much better than mine in some aspect, right? when in reality it's like, no, you have the same opportunity that everyone else has, like that you're looking at. It's just a matter of like where you're devoting your attention to.
Well, so the only thing I would say to maybe counter that a little bit
Mm,
is
mm,
their life. Look, social media is fake, first of all,
for sure, yeah.
but in some ways, their life may be better than yours in some aspects.
Mm-hmm,
If I jump online right now and I type in on Instagram fitness, I'm
mm-hmm,
going to pull up literally thousands of men my age who are way more fit than I am.
mm-hmm,
So it is safe to assume that in that arena, they are doing better than me. Or I could type in entrepreneurship, or I could type in podcast, or I could type in wealth. Like I can always find somebody who's doing better than me.
mm-hmm,
The problem is most people, when they see it, they start judging themselves harshly or start pedestaling people who don't deserve to be on pedestals.
mm-hmm,
So, for example, if I see a fitness guy and he's ripped and he's got a six pack and he's 7% body fat and he's just this handsome specimen of a human being, it's very easy for me to say, well, that guy has it figured out. He must be born of Zeus.
mm-hmm,
Well, the reality is his marriage might be falling apart. His kids might hate him. He might be broke, but he's fit.
mm-hmm,
And so what we need to do is, as people who consume information on social media, is just compartmentalize. Like, I don't need to judge what that guy's family life is like. I have no idea.
mm-hmm,
I don't need to judge what his morals are. I have no idea what his morals are or what his entrepreneurship success is. All I know is that he knows how to lift. That's it. He knows how to be fit. And if I want to be fit, then I'm going to try to learn what I need to learn from him in order to be fit. And the rest of the stuff, unless I know otherwise, I'm going to find in other places. So it's okay to look to those people, but the minute you start comparing yourself to it and saying, well, they're better than me, not only is it deflating to you, it's just wrong. You have no idea if that person's better. And they are better than you at certain things. And
mm-hmm.
trust me, you are better at them at certain things. And they might actually be envious of you if they knew the intricacies of your life. So just pull what you can from different places. When I go to a business luncheon, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not judging those guys on their morality. I don't know. One guy could have cheated on his wife last night. The other guy might have abuse, some sort of abuse problems, like substance abuse problems. Another guy might be just have complete insecurities from the way that he was raised. I have no idea, but I know he's successful in business, and those are the lessons I'm here to extract, and nothing more.
Man, and going back to what you were talking about with just building community and the importance of it, what have you learned through having like this brotherhood of a community that's built around Order of Man that has stood out to you over the years?
I mean, I think the biggest one is just be honest with people. A lot of people call it vulnerability. I don't particularly like that phrase. It has so much negative connotation to it, and it's been
Mm-hmm.
bastardized by the marketing community that it is no longer clear what we're talking about when we say vulnerability. But I just be honest. If you're good at something, tell people you're good at it. If you're not good at something, just tell people I'm not good at that.
Mm-hmm.
If you have insight based on credible information or experience, share it. If somebody asks you something, you're like, I don't know anything about that, then just say that. I don't know anything about that. But what I can share is this. Or if you're struggling with something personally, and this one's really hard for a lot of social media people,
Mm-hmm.
then just say that. I'm struggling with substance abuse. I'm struggling with infidelity. I'm struggling with financial mismanagement. I'm struggling with a health condition. I'm struggling with thoughts of um, inadequacy. Just share it. Like whatever it is, just throw it all out there. And I think if you're trying to build a resource for people in a community environment, then you owe it to
Mm-hmm.
them to say, hey guys, here's what I'm really good at and here's what I'm not good at. And we're building a community so I can help you in these departments, but I know people are going to come into this community and they're going to be able to teach me things that I don't know how to do. I mean, the Iron Council and Order of Man and everything that we've been doing over the past 10 years. I
Hmm.
don't know if I don't know if you're old enough. Do you remember the Rogaine commercials where, and plus you
Yeah.
had this glorious head of hair, so I'm not sure you're even familiar with this, where
Yeah.
the guy would say, "I'm not only a client, I'm the president." You remember those?
Uh, yeah, I do.
Yeah, that's me. Like, I'm not only the founder or like the founder of Order of Man, but I'm a client. Like,
Hmm.
the things that I teach, from battle planning to accountability to having good men in your corner to messing up and fixing it to all of the things that we talk about, I'm the biggest beneficiary of it. I just know a few things pretty well. And
Hmm.
80% of the stuff I suck at, and I need other people to teach me.
So when you started the Iron Council, did you get really good feedback? Were a lot of men coming forward to like figure this out? Like I suck at this. Can you teach me how to do this?
Well, yeah, because that's how we told that's what we told people it was.
Mm,
Like, there's not a single person who ever came into the Iron Council who felt like they had it all figured out.
mm,
And if there was, they would not have stuck around for very long because it would have exposed all their vulnerabilities, and they're not comfortable with that. It would have exposed their flaws. It would have shown people their weaknesses. It would have heightened their inadequacies, and they're not arrogant people are not comfortable with that.
mm,
So we've had guys who have come in and they're like, "This isn't for me," and they leave. I'm like, "Dude, you didn't even help anybody. You didn't even learn
mm,
anything. You didn't even
mm,
apply the tools that we had." I don't know. It's not for me. Okay,
mm.
that's fine. Like, I do genuinely hope you find something for you.
Right.
But the guys that come into the Iron Council and just put forth just the least bit of effort are the ones who know I'm not awesome. My marriage is struggling. The relationship I have with my kids is not good.
Mm,
I'm stuck in a dead end job. I'm 100 pounds overweight. I'm financially broke. Like, anybody who would come to the Iron Council knows I'm not awesome. I got deficiencies. I've got emotional baggage. I've got trauma. I've got, like, name it.
mm,
It's every single one of us in there. The difference is the people in the Iron Council, they're the ones who are willing to acknowledge it. And all the guys who aren't willing to acknowledge it, they don't get involved in programs like this because it underscores where they're weak, and they don't want to address that. And if you're not ready, okay, there's nothing I can help you with. There's nothing, Dorian, you can help them with
right.
until they're ready to make a real change. And the point at which they're ready is when the pain of what they're dealing with is greater than the pain of discomfort of the change they'll have to enact in order to be better.
Mm. Man, yeah, that's really deep because it shows that when people continue to gravitate towards the circles where they can learn the most and share their vulnerabilities and their weaknesses, but also acknowledge like I am strong at this, so we can trade skills basically. I show you this, you show me this, and that's something that I've always wanted to do as well. Whenever I become proficient at something, I want to share it to someone else and like give them that knowledge like here is the ticket to making a little bit more money or doing something on this like lift or even with dancing like for me I've been a dancer for 10 years and I like have a huge community around me and it's such a good form of self-expression but also mental health like it's insane how much I can like unpack from just going out to do 30 minutes of a dance like practice somewhere and being able to share that with other people and saying like it's okay to go out and do this like even for like you know coming from Mexican heritage you know most Mexicans if you go to Mexico make fun of guys who can dance or they call them gay and it's just like that's hilarious because a lot of you guys were closeted gays. And for the most part, like anytime I go out to any place, festival, club, and I'm dancing, I'm always getting comments, obviously, from girls, but guys
Of
come up and
course.
they're like, bro, how did you learn that? How long did it take you to get that good? And I would just be like, dude, here's some resources. Go look them up yourself. Like, don't be afraid to express yourself, because the more that you hold back from wanting to chase something, the more that you're going to resent the time that it took to start.
Well, I mean, I really admire and appreciate that because I think that's not probably just a Mexican culture, but I think that's probably broadly applied to cultures of all kinds for men is that dance is something for women or it's feminine or it's gay, like you said. And
Right.
I wish that more men understood the importance of art, and I think generally we move towards the warrior mindset, like we're the hunters, we're the providers, we bring the bread into the house, like we protect the family, and all of that is true. I'm not
Hmm.
discounting that. And I
Absolutely.
gravitate, my personality more gravitates towards that. But
Hmm.
the expression of masculinity inside the arts, whether it's dance or singing, I mean, some of the most powerful songs that invoke the most emotion for me or stir me to behave a different way is through theater and music and dance. And
Hmm.
or another thought that I've had is art, like painting or
Hmm.
drawing or cooking, these artistic expressions. Photography, that's one I've gotten into over the past years. I work to develop my sports photography for my children and take pictures of them. That's a
Cool.
creative pursuit, and it's one that most men would probably say isn't inherently masculine.
Hmm.
But why? Why is it not masculine? For example, dance is a great example. To
Hmm.
use your body to be able to contort, manipulate your body in certain ways to express a mood in a healthy, productive way, to learn how to charm women you might be interested in. Like, how is that not masculine?
Hmm.
It's wild that we have these thoughts about the arts, but I think we're probably going to see a cultural revolution. At least I hope we do when it comes
Hmm.
to men in the arts. I really do.
Yeah, man, I agree with you. I mean, a lot of the people that I know that are very close friends of mine that I talk to on the daily, like they're dancers too, and like they've been paid to perform on stage, like in front of thousands of people, and it's cool to recognize that a lot of things that were considered feminine are starting to get integrated into the manosphere, you should say. But I think with what you're saying is like, yes, you can be protector, leader, provider, and you can also have these other traits as well. It doesn't have to just be linear. Like you can definitely be in different areas where you can express yourself and like enjoy these things that you can just share with other guys.
Well, and there's that, but there's also the spiritual realm, and your level of ability to tap into a spiritual power that can help guide and lead and inspire and direct you, that is unmovable. I often think about what I call the doctrine of popular culture, which is just what culture and society and politicians and entertainers and athletes tell you to do. And it just, like, there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's just one day we're over here, the next day we're over there, the next day we're here, the next day we think this, the next day CNN told us to do this, the next day Fox told us to do that. And
Hmm.
there's no true north for us.
Hmm.
And there's this other realm outside of the physicality that we should learn how to tap into, and that's God. That's finding a true source of power. That's finding an infinite truth and an unmovable truth and a litmus test for how you are to live your life. And so you can measure the woman you're trying to decide to spend the rest of your life with against, or the career that you should pursue, or the behavior you should or should not engage in based on absolute truth that is unmovable. Man, that's a really powerful thing that a lot of men could probably tap more into.
I agree with you. And while I don't follow one religious aspect or like entity, I, I tend to think like the more that you start to meditate and start to just spend more time alone with your thoughts is where you can start to connect to that spirituality, because the more disconnected you are from all of the external world, the more that you start to like phase out all the ideas and different aspects of society that have been bombarded against your thoughts, and like now you can actually sit with the original ideas and like, well, what do I actually care about? What are my values? Where do my code of ethics align with the people that are around me?
And you know, when I think you do that, you're going to have a higher power speak into you. I believe it's God. And so he speaks into me to give me guidance and insight and direction. Some people call it the universe or Allah, or, I
Hmm.
mean, pick.
Right.
I believe, just because of my faith, that there is a path forward. There is a path that we ought to pursue. But it is interesting. You have a bunch of, for example, atheists who would say, well, I don't believe in a higher power. I believe in Mother Universe or whatever they call it. And it's like, well, tell me about that. And they're like, well,
Hmm.
it's this energy that is conspiring on my benefit and helping me make decisions. I'm like, that sounds like God.
Hmm.
Like, I don't know why you're insulted by that or why you get offended by that. You call it whatever you want, but we're speaking the same language. We're just using different terms. You know, you
Right.
speak Spanish. I don't speak Spanish. You and I
Hmm.
could say the same thing, but it would sound different to other people just based on the noises that we're making with our mouths. But
Right.
we all have this belief. We just tend to use different noises to communicate what that belief is.
No, absolutely. And that's also like speaking to your audience and like knowing who you're speaking to as well. It's like super important.
Well,
Um
I would also
to,
say with that, though, Dorian, it's not only just knowing who your audience is, because at some point that could become a little bit manipulative. I've
mm,
seen people do this where they're like, oh, I know my audience would really like this. And so they change something about who they are in order to cater to that audience. I think that's a danger. The only place that makes sense is when you're an actor. You know, an actor will pretend to be a Navy SEAL who is the furthest thing from a Navy SEAL, but the good ones can pull it off. But they're not pre they're not telling people they actually are Navy SEALs. They're saying, I'm portraying this,
mm,
and then we determine their performance. But we know they're not. But then there's other people who pretend to be something that they're not, just for social media clout or a few more likes. And I think in this age, it's going to become, especially with how saturated the markets are for this type of thing, it's going to
mhm.
become increasingly easy to figure out who the phonies and frauds are and who the real ones are. So I think more important than catering to an audience is just know who you are and
Mhm.
speak from your heart about things that are relevant to you, and the people who are interested in what you're interested in and the way that you say it will find you.
I love that. It's so true. And it's just being genuine, you know? It's like being honest, just like you were saying it. Very simple things to do, yet it's easier to just pretend and then later on deal with the consequences, because it's like, do I want to be likable in the moment, or do I want to like just be myself, maybe offend somebody, or maybe not even have their attention and just continue on with my life? And it's just making that trade-off. It's that sacrifice of like, be who you are, or you're just gonna blend in and conform.
Well, and I think that question of, do I want to be who people want me to be or people like, whatever you said, like,
Mhm.
I don't know, what's more important, a bunch of random strangers liking you, or you feeling good about yourself when you put your head on the pillow at the end of the night? Or maybe you don't even feel good about yourself, but maybe, again, to go back to spirituality, you said to yourself, you know what? I don't feel great about where I am, but I know that I did the right things today and I am
Mhm.
good in his eyes. And maybe that's enough. Um, but yeah, when you start thinking about, well, would this person like this or like that? Or what if I said this or what I said that? You're walking on eggshells. You're living your life for somebody else. You're manipulating your own behavior because you think somebody might want something. And by the way, you don't even know if they'd want that. You're just assuming.
Right.
And it just creates all sorts of mental and emotional turmoil because it's incongruent with what you really think and who you really are.
Ryan, I have one more question for you
All right, fire
because
away.
it's been so good, this conversation. This one revolves around mentality. What does it mean to be battle ready?
I think battle readiness is anticipating life circumstances that will come up
Mhm.
and working every day to make sure you can address and deal with those and adapt where you need to. I think the hardest part of being battle ready is you don't know what you need to be ready for completely.
Mhm.
You can have a general idea. Like you're gonna face health stuff. You're gonna face old age. I was in the sauna this morning after my workout and I was sitting there talking with a guy and I was trying to set my timer on my watch and I'm like, I couldn't even see it. You know, I'm 43 years old. I'm like, what is happening? I can't even see what my timer says. And we were both laughing about it. And that's just the inevitability of getting older, you know?
Yep.
And can you deal with it? And that's pretty pretty tame in comparison to dealing with substance abuse or dealing with the breakdown of a marriage or the death of a loved one, or heaven forbid one of your kids dies or kills themselves, or losing a job, or financial constraint and hardship. I mean,
Mhm.
the threats are endless. It's being able to acknowledge that those threats exist, that at some point in your life you're going to confront all of those threats, and then being aware enough to deal with them today. If I know that at some point I'm going to deal with financial hardship, I don't even know what that looks like. Who knows? Maybe I'm running errands this afternoon. I get in a car wreck and I'm paralyzed or I can't speak. Maybe I lose the ability to speak. Holy shit. Like what will that do to my ability to provide for my kids?
Mhm.
Catastrophic.
Right.
And these things happen every single day. So we need to be aware of these threats, build in contingency plans, work against those, ward off what could hurt us and what we have control over, and be able to adapt and roll with the punches as they come, because they definitely will come. We won't break. We can't break. We don't have the luxury of doing that. But being able to roll with the punches, adjust, deal with the things as they come up, and just get better.
I love it, man. I love it. And I know a lot of men that listen to this episode will feel that as well. The people that are tuning into,
Yeah, I hope so.
yeah, the platforms, I think. And thank you again so much for sharing your wisdom and your knowledge. I like the pushback. I like having people with more experience to talk to, because I want to continue to get better at doing this. And I think communication goes so long in any career that you choose. Being able to like clearly like state your thoughts and ideas with someone else like receiving them and giving you feedback is so fucking powerful.
Yeah. I mean, I feel the same way. So you and I are similar pages. So I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks for letting me join you today
Yeah,
and
man.
ramble at you.
Nah, man, it gave me a an insight to who you are, because like I I just wanted to learn more about you, man, and I appreciate your time so much. I know it's valuable, so thank you
Likewise.
again.
Yeah, you could have done this with anybody else. So I feel the same way. So I appreciate that.
Thank you so much, Ryan, and I hope we can talk again in the future.
We will.
All right, man. Take care.